just maybe, we're finally going to go 5 deep, I should say, get to that best of 5.
Yeah, this is going to be, of course, this is the dream that we want to believe in, a 5-game series, just to witness all of the variety of the map pack has to offer us here, as we've witnessed a few bans that were somewhat surprising in the early stages of the pick and ban phase, a few picks that were surprising as well in early stages, such as Waiting, for instance. But yeah, Steak and Cheese versus Equinox, Planetary Goose and Zvede versus Italy and Hygibis. Now, Planetary Goose and Zvede are no stranger to competition. They have, of course, participating in the World Tour themselves. They tried to qualify in the World Championship as well. Unfortunately, it didn't exactly pan out for them. They did play, of course, in the regionals last time out. But yeah, looking forward to see what this match will be all about for these two teams.
Yeah, it should be an interesting one. I'm kind of leaning on being Steak and Cheese favored, not just because it's dinner time down here in Australia, but they were able to get their way kind of through that showdown and got themselves a nice higher seed compared to Equinox, which maybe struggled a little bit more. However, it doesn't really matter how you got here. What matters is you're here and how you perform. So with draft starting, I believe, in just a couple minutes right now, I will be super curious to see how competitive Equinox actually looks and whether or not they could take it to Steak and Cheese.
And to be fair, no matter the result that Equinox is managing to achieve, they've got a pretty they got some fans out there that really do believe in them. I remember I saw that, I think it was the tweet of the announcement of the results, and I think it was the Equinox Twitter themselves that said, "We are in Premier League," just to see the joy and elation, just to reach the Premier Division is just something we always love to see whenever it's one of the underdogs that manages to punch well above their weight to actually get themselves in the prime time. So it's already commendable in and of itself. Now, just to 45 seconds before the pick and bans, just one quick reminder that, of course, if you want to do predictions and you also want to check out maybe the match results at the very end once everything is updated, eCircuitMania.com has you covered. And there's, of course, a league, an official group that has actually been set up that you can join using code GCL15K. That will also pop up, of course, in the message from Fosabot from time to time, along with the links to follow both the Division 1 and Division 2 matches with all the results posted over there. So, again, big thanks to eCircuitMania.com for allowing this kind of, well, I say data archival, but also kind of deep down data analysis that you can actually have, because they register almost they're able to register pretty much every single like round time and stuff like that. It's absolutely awesome, an awesome tool, especially for us whenever we actually have to kind of break down some matchups beforehand if there's been matches that have been played before for each team to kind of like get a gauge of where everybody stands. In the meantime, picks and bans are underway, and it will be Equinox, which will be the first ban, and it will be Candy Crush up first.
All right, that's going to be a little bit of a different one as well. So I'm going to be keen to see, that get played, played, I should say. Luminescence also gone. That's the first time we've seen Luminescence banned. That would have been map 4 in our last series. Unfortunately,
there we go.
And there, oh boy, she is up first. Been waiting for this one.
Yeah, she is first, and the start, much like in Waiting, the start is going to be setting the tone really quickly, as you'll be able to witness. Now, it's going to be all to Equinox to try and maybe pick something else. Yeah, Simplicity. I was kind of figuring maybe they're going to go for something a bit more, maybe a bit more manageable than Shia. So yeah, Simplicity, then Waiting. Now, I'm guessing it will be 3-piece as a 4th pick, and then it will be, okay, reversed. Okay, so Agartha 4th pick, and then Decider will be on 3-piece. Okay, all right.
Interesting. Also, look, I was able to kind of take a look at some results. I've been sneaking around, looking around. Something a little bit surprising to me: Steak and Cheese coming into this one 0-2, just like Equinox. So both these teams are actually still looking for their first match win. Granted, Steak and Cheese's opponents have been, I would argue, a little tougher. Perhaps they've gone up against, I believe, 2 Red Devils as well as Antic, and they were able to take maps off of both. So don't let the 0-2 fool you coming into this one. Steak and Cheese, I still have pegged to most likely be a playoff team.
Yeah, in terms of Equinox, it's going to be like more competing towards maybe the bubble of the standings. I think more top 5, 6, top 7. And in their first match against Restless Y, they actually went all the way to game 5, and they finished on ended up taking a loss on a 3-2 score, which was actually pretty solid, considering that they took Luminance 10-5 and Agartha 10-8 was Restless Y managed to get 3-piece Shias and Decider as well, and the Waiting, which was the Decider as well. Then, of course, it all kind of came back pretty heavily in terms of the swing and balance with Trident taking a very, very deserved, well, I say
Yeah.
deserved and expected win, 10-3, 11-1, 10-4. So it was a 3-0 score in that particular matchup for Equinox. But yeah, both teams both have a point to prove, each with their
Hmm.
own set goals. So yeah, we'll see how both teams get on, as we are now on to Shias with lots of palm trees actually in the start. As I just
Yep.
seen it, pretty well decorated. Pretty well decorated map, I gotta say. But yeah, that start, man. Whew. I guess I'll just let you do the talking once again for the opening round as we're getting started, because yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening on this map.
I feel like you're so much more qualified to talk about these tracks. I barely struggle to finish this one, let alone nail this start. But as you can see, so many tricky transitions, such a fast grass bank, and it's so easy to hit that wall to the left before you come through. Narrow gap to get from the grass to the dirt, and then this turn right here, if it is not perfect, you lose so much speed. As thank you so much to Toli for demonstrating on their way out. A sharp, near 90-degree turn, not quite, transition up onto the plastic, where you've got to hit a small gap, maintain that speed down, transition back into the dirt and up the hill. A little bit of a reprieve right now, a nice slower turn where you can ride that bank before a couple narrow gaps, and then you get into one of the more fun parts, a nice jump onto the bank in the grass, but it's very easy to overshoot that because then you fall in the hole or wind up into the wall, as it totally has done for a second time. Now things looking good for Steak and Cheese. They've got the lead as we come down to the end. It is a small bridge and through the finish line, a 59.4 to start us off, still within 1 second of the world record.
A little bit over that, actually. 58.2 is the fastest time that's been logged onto this map. But yeah, you can see this map is, yeah, arguably the hardest map in the entire map pack, and I think you can see why. Starting, of course, the start itself is just snaking all the way through with the furious transitions here and there with that sort of right and left combination at the very start. So already not for the faint of heart. And then, of course, the dirt section starting here. 212 is actually a relatively fast outside dirt. We've seen some slower dirt sections before as we're getting through that section. Then, as you can see, the drop down and the, oh, that's unfortunate of a landing there for Svede. Just getting the bad landing and also hitting one of the deco blocks on the side to add insult to injury. So he will be dropping down to 4th, Etoli in 3rd place. And actually, this is going to be a round from Hygibis actually making a really solid round, especially taking advantage of a mistake from Planetary Goose in the middle sector before we get onto the grass. And the aim is kind of like similar to one of the XP Evo maps where you try to go for the ring on the outside to get extra grip compared to the grass. And Hygibis managed to do that pretty much picture perfect, as he will be guaranteeing the individual win for Equinox with a 59.218. Solid going as well. Etoli finishing in last place means it will be a draw. It will be a 3-point lead still for Steak and Cheese, but that's a lot of damage if I've ever seen it.
Yeah, and I mean, that's still a pretty big win for Haggett. It's a bit unfortunate for Equinox that they couldn't really back it up with the round win right there. Still plenty of time in it, and if there's any map that can just fall apart at the seams, I really do feel like this would be the one. Now, we were kind of hinting at it before coming into this map. I would again want to reiterate the fact that Steak and Cheese, a potential favorite to go quite deep in this tournament, if they are to lose this series against Equinox, a team that, you know, is going to be vying for wins, vying for that bubble seed, it would be a tone setter, I feel like, for both these teams advancing into the later weekends. So it's a big opportunity for Equinox to get their first win against a wounded Steak and Cheese, especially after that last round. However, this time around, well, it's Speed who's struggling a bit, and it is Equinox who is challenging Planetary Goose for that lead. It's totally right behind him. Gonna want a nice landing right here and hit the ring, although that was a little bit choppy. Atoli's gonna lose speed for that. Didn't get all 4 wheels down. Hagibis, I think, may have bonked the wall as well, moving up through the grass. So Planetary Goose, a nice cushion towards the finish line, should be able to hold on nicely. A 59.0. Our times are getting faster as this one ends in not a draw. Speed with the snipe at the end.
Yeah, unfortunately for Etoli, he looked to have that 3rd place pretty dead set, but unfortunately towards the end, he had a very big slowdown, allowing Svede to move back up into 3rd position. So yeah, just chaos left, right, and center. Everybody just falling prey to that, except for Planetary Goose, of course, who managed to not put a foot wrong and log in at 59.0 for good measure to actually get an individual win and also a victory as the team standing point for Steak and Cheese, who are now 1 point away from map point number 1 here in this series as we make our way through the plastic sector in sector number 1. And yeah, that tight line is so rough. It is very, very precise to get into, and given the nature of plastic, it can be very easy to mess this alignment up and either hit the CP on the inside or go too far out. Hagibis almost hitting the outside edge, so he almost got a little bit carried away, managed to keep it reined in. Etoli way too far down, and also Svede going very low on the banking. Hagibis having hit the wall with the right rear is going to be losing a lot of time. Planetary Goose thus enabling himself to move up into the lead at a pretty significant rate, about a second up on Hagibis, and it will be yet another victory for Steak and Cheese with a 58.972, first dip into the 58s that we're seeing so far, and it will be yet another win for Steak and Cheese, as we said. Map point number 1, just a single victory standing between them and their first map in the books.
Yeah, I totally, having a round they would like to forget, ran into issues early, and it just got worse and worse for them as we went on. Steak and Cheese, though. This is kind of what I expected from the pie makers, looking very good in this position. Haven't dropped around yet, and one more, and it'll be a near perfect start for this side. Again, this map, we expected it to be a challenge maybe for some of, more of the bubble teams, and that's a big reason why you'd have to suspect why Steak and Cheese kind of picked it first, and the results have been speaking for themselves. That said, Hagibis has been doing a good job keeping up, so shout out to that Equinox member. We'll see if they can do it one more time. I mean, they need to win this round. They need Etoli to kind of pick up the pace, already nearly a second behind because of some issues, and then I think they bonked the checkpoint there as well. So unless someone from Steak and Cheese really makes a mistake, it's going to be up on Hagibis to come across P1, a position that they have after Planetary Goose bonked as well. It is so hard to keep this run clean, and that's exactly what Hagibis has to do to keep Equinox alive. Speed is going to put pressure on them very wide through the grass, but you can see just attacking these corners, and Hagis, they've got a little bit too wide now. Speed takes P1 away. Planetary Goose right behind him. A 1-2 ace to end this one in style. Steak and Cheese take the first track.
Yeah, and it all stemmed from that grass part after the reactor, where he was a little bit too antsy, just went all over the shop, scrubbed off way too much speed just to try and avoid the pole on the outside. And that's what prompted Steak and Cheese to just slide on through and demote him not to second, but to third, and to take the map for themselves. 11-3, the final score then on that first map that was Shia's. We're moving on to Simplicity now. We're moving on to an Equinox pick, trying to make this their best shot of actually getting a map on the board this time.
All right. I know we're in the warm-up right now, so I shouldn't be focusing too hard on this, but correct me if I'm wrong. The Planetary Goose, and I think both Speed as well, no, it's more Planetary Goose. Planetary Goose has the New Zealand car, but with like is there a goose head in the bottom right? Like just on the tail?
Yeah, it looks to have been modified somewhat. Well, I guess we can't exactly see because yeah, the wings didn't deploy. I'll see from that perspective, and indeed, it's a goose head indeed with looks like either a leak or like a laser that's diffusing, whatever. But yeah, it's definitely a modified version of the New Zealand car that Planetary Goose is sporting. Was Vede is running the vanilla skin, and unfortunately for Planetary Goose, went a little bit too wide at the exit of the dirt uphill left-hander, and thus clobbered the wall with the right-hand side of the car at the start of the map, and thus will be relegated down to last place. In the meantime, it will be Hagibis and Svede battling toe-to-toe for the lead of this race. I told you a little bit a bit further down, 2/10 down, keeping a close eye on the proceedings as we head into the second half of the map, trying to go for a bit of a later apex closer to the pole here for Etoli as we go through that sort of double right-hander that goes from bank to flat, back to bank, where it's easy to get a bit of airtime. Right now, Hagib is managing to hold off the pressure really well from Svede. Etoli trying to catch up as hard as he can, but unfortunately it will be Svede that will be moving up in a pretty solid position to keep at least 1 point on the board for Steak and Cheese, but it will be the opening victory for Equinox with a 56.481, driven by Hagibis, which is about, let's see, about 6/10 away from the current best time of 55.872.
Yeah, again, it felt like that round was just determined right at the very start, which we've seen a few times on Simplicity already. The first turn, if you don't have the right angle, you ease up on the gas, you wind up bonking a pole, or through this transition right here. Even when we were back on this track back during the first round, we saw similar mistakes at the very start cost teams a round or two, because this is arguably the simplest track. Is the easiest one. I think there's the fewest spaces for unforced errors, so most of them come at the beginning, and if you get through that clean, then it becomes all about maintaining speed, maintaining that pace, maintaining that momentum, something that Speed is doing quite well, because we got a late bonk from Hagibis, and I don't know where Etoli just went. They're gone too, opting to respawn. I didn't quite catch what bonked them either way. Steak and Cheese
Actually,
set up for an ace as well as they come through on the final corners. Well done to the team in blue. They're going to have themselves a 4-2 lead.
just to quickly interject there, the little bonk from Italy, it wasn't the bonk, it was actually a clip, you know, at the start of the banked corner that goes back to flight and then back again. He actually went a bit too far inside and clipped with the right side, which completely sent his car off on the opposite direction, hence why there was such a big deviation. He didn't know exactly where he was or where he wasn't in that sense, as we make our way through round number 3 now, with Steak and Cheese having taken an opportunistic ace, but still one that is allowing them to move onto a 2-point lead so far. Let's go on the perspective of Itoli right now, who's going a little bit all over the shot there, dropping down to last place, and everybody falling apart on the blue side. Moses parted the waves, but I don't think it was even the thought of Itoli to will that into existence. It's just Sveta and Planetary Goose just completely, I don't even have the words for that. I'm just completely dumbfounded at this point. It will be Hygibis currently leading Itoli by about 0.4 of a second, and that's going to be a surefire counter ace that's going to be allowing EQNX to get back to that saddle of a 1-point lead that they had just a round ago. And there we go. Hygibis driving a 56.527. Again, I struggled. I mean, I don't know why, but not only they struggled, but I struggled as well. So yeah, no words.
I have not seen anyone crash out at that section of the track yet, and yet to see both members of Steak and Cheese do it in 2 completely different ways. I'm glad you were calling that, because I was left speechless for a few moments there, and I don't blame you for being thrown off. A very crazy round, but it's exactly what EQNX needed.
Dumbfounded. And just to prove how good of a round it was, you could hear the honk from Planetary Goose's horn at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that one was a honker, that is for sure, as we continue along. I mean, Hygibis probably feeling a little bit more confident right now. I mean, both EQNX members off to a fantastic start here. Unfortunately for Hygibis, and it goes a little bit pear-shaped. They're going to fall 3/10 back, and it's just going to get worse before it gets better. So Itoli going to have to try to hold off both members of those all-black New Zealand cars from Steak and Cheese. Planetary Goose, a little bit wider, didn't quite hit the apex like Itoli, but that's because Itoli almost hit the apex, right, literally, but still maintained that speed. Speed, though, has momentum a little bit too much, goes a bit too wide, going to wind up losing second place. Everything that Steak and Cheese is throwing at Itoli, they are able to hold on to such a clean line. That said, one last launch, Planetary Goose going for it at the end, will steal it away, and Steak and Cheese win the round.
What a final corner from Planetary Goose there, just to manage to get the car rolling all the way through the corner, carrying so much more momentum than Itoli, who was a little bit more conservative there, to actually enable Steak and Cheese to pretty much tie the game up. And not gonna lie, Itoli, A+ for effort, because he was maybe 1 or 2 pixels away from pulling a Lance Stroll, let's say that. In the meantime, getting into our next round, Itoli trying to recoup some of the lost time that he trying to maybe make amends from the previous round, trying to get a win in there. Oh, but as I say that, of course, went a little bit too wide at the entry to the checkpoint into the dirt and hit the wall with the full right side of his car. That's a broadside hit, and thus it will be Planetary Goose leading ahead as Sveta, who's under threat from Hygibis, who went almost very close. Went almost into the pole, I should say, very close to the pole, rather, and yeah, that was a bit of a wonky line through there. No way it was actually going to be making it through for Hygibis, who clipped on the inside edge with the left rear, and thus Sveta moves back up into second position. It will be an ace for Steak and Cheese, putting them on map point number 2, and in a very advantageous position, because they only need 1 single point. As I said, an individual second place is all it takes, and that's it. That's the second map going their way.
Oh boy, and that would be a really tough hole for EQNX to take themselves out of, especially because this was their map. But here we go. We've seen, you know, pretty much aces every time, and this has been a lot more chaotic than last time we were here on Simplicity, so I'm not riding EQNX out yet. However, I think they're going to need more mistakes from the team in blue, and that's not what we're getting through these opening sections. Speed, though, is a little further back. First mistake comes from Itoli as they bonk that inside corner, and then Hygibis just waits a couple corners to do the same. Steak and Cheese now 1 second gap. I don't want to call it cruise control to the end, but very, very close to it. If they can maintain a clean run, they should get its speed, though. Very awkward coming out of that turn, so it's not all doom and gloom. But again, when you only need one member, and that one member's got a 2.5-second lead, it's all but over. Planetary Goose has done the hard work. Just one more turn, steak and cheese. They're going to take this second track with another ace in their favor. Goes Planetary Goose, goes Speed. And now 2 tracks up, GGeek. This is very, very dire for the team in red.
Bottomless pit has been initiated. The bottomless pit of despair has just been opened up, and looks as though EQNX are basically just hanging in, just grabbing the ledge by both of their arms as hard as they might. But yeah, I gotta say, like, there was a lot more damage than I would have expected Simplicity to wreak havoc on in this particular round. Especially, well, of course, Itoli's crash followed almost immediately by Hygibis's crash in the end of the first sector, but also that no slide from Zvede. Can we talk about that for a second? Because it's not exactly something you want to have in the tech portion of the track. And I was just seeing that. I'm like, my heart was like, yeah, I felt the pain. I felt the pain that Zvede might have felt at that moment.
I mean, there's been a lot of pain, I feel like, going around. But yeah, it was tough. Still, all's well that ends well. You'd have to think for that side. Look, Twitch chat brought it up. I'd be remiss to point it out. There's been some struggles on the EQNX side. If they're going to come back into this one, my eyes are on Itoli to kind of turn this one back in. Obviously, no wins yet, but that 63% crash rate, that's got to improve.
Yeah, there's gotta be some improvement to be done in here, and he needs to get on the ball right now because round 1 is underway as we're getting through the start section, and already shouldn't have mentioned the name. Should definitely not have mentioned the name because that is a few more percents going the way of the crash rate. In the meantime, it will be Sphire and Planetary Goose just firmly standing themselves in the lead, and Hygibis just trying to keep himself within striking distance of the top 2, especially seeing Zvede going a little bit all over the shot, almost hitting the rear of the car in the right-hand side wall just before the plastic transition. And so it will be still Zvede is still in second position, and Hygibis tried to take advantage of that little slump, but unfortunately, the middle sector is proving that, yeah, there's not really much that the EQNX player can do right now. In the meantime, following along with Zvede in second position, he's going to be looking to guarantee at the very least an ace to start off strong. But again, that section is so complicated to approach and so tight. It's very easy to get caught off guard. And Planetary Goose takes the win with a 56.268 to kick things off, about 7/10 away, give or take, from the current record for men, a 55.5. For reminder, at the top left of the screen, Hygibis and Itoli third and fourth. 3-0. First ace down. Are we going to be seeing 3 more aces to go?
And yeah, very possibly. It does feel like EQNX is just struggling immensely. Also, just real quick, and correct me if I'm wrong on this one, Min holds the world record for every single track in this event.
Every single, almost every single one, actually. There was one on Agartha that is Baywax actually doing.
Yes.
Or Trident Esports on Agartha. 101.238 from what we've actually got noted down there.
The one track which I don't think we've seen on stream. But that's...
no, we have seen it. We have seen it.
Oh, we did. Yes, way back when. You are right. So there we go. We have seen all 7 tracks today. That's a good sign. Which also is a good sign for Steak and Cheese fans. Another great start for them. And again, struggles from Itoli, who a little bit of a errant start, and they're already down about over a second, and it's just getting worse before it gets better. A lot of pressure on Hygibis right now to try and make that late lunge, to try and maybe at least get in front of Speed, because getting ace twice in a row, it could be the death sentence. Well, there's the mistake from Speed. There's the transition from Hygibis, but they bonk it on the exit and right before the finish as well. I don't know if they have enough speed. They do only just. It doesn't matter, though, because the ace was found. Steak and Cheese up 6-0.
I know with those groans I may seem biased, but trust me, it's not. It's just the reaction of a genuine racing fan, like, that's such a stinker, man. Come on! Anyway, round 3, yeah, now the writing's pretty much on the wall for EQNX. I don't feel like there's anything that they can do right now. They're completely in the mud, as Iridium points out in the chat. But maybe they can try to clean themselves up on this round. We'll see. Currently, Itoli holding the lead, but Svede looking very racy at the end of that first sector. He will go toe-to-toe with Itoli to take the lead at the split, but he goes way too wide and hits the left-hand side wall with the left-hand side of his car, and thus it will be Itoli taking the lead. Hygibis in second position, and Planetary Goose actually just sitting in third, about 6 tenths down actually on the nearest Equinox player, which is actually kind of surprising to see. But yeah, Italy and Hygibis having a pretty solid chance to retaliate almost immediately, but Italy went way too wide.
Oh.
That's going to allow Planetary Goose. No, Planetary Goose is way too far back to actually make an attack stick. And so it will be yet another ace going this time the way of Equinox with a 56.640 for Hygibis, which is actually a PB for about a 10th and a half on his part. Italy second, and thus Equinox get on the board, 6-3.
Needed that, and the PB I think is the exact boost of confidence that you'd be hoping to see hopefully carry over. Right now they are in a lot of strife, and we'll see if Equinox can bring it back as well. That's not the start was kind of hoping for Italy. You know, has a great round and well bonks on the initial checkpoints on the next. Still a lot of run to go as we make our way through the quick little plastic section. Hagib is staying right with the two members of Steak and Cheese, and with Planetary Goose bonking twice, there's a real chance to at least draw this match out, if not get something more. Speed, though, holding the front, an exact car lengths ahead as we make our way through the dirt. There's a little bit more speed on Hagibis, but they're unable to maintain it initially. It's a second lunge, a more of an inside line, but not enough to overtake. In fact, it's considerably slower as speed continues to pull further and further out. A good loss of momentum there, but it's going to be quickly regained. Hagibis might have a bit more, but the speed slide not what it needed to be, so speed will take the round. Planetary Goose will finish third. It is now 8-4. Steak and Cheese 1 round away from winning this match.
Match point for Steak and Cheese, and what will likely be, I don't remember even the Goldfish Brain moment. I don't know if it's their first or second win overall in the series. I think it might be it will be their first win. Okay, thank you very much. And Hygibis making the job a lot easier for the blue side with that full stopping into the first checkpoint. That is painful to see. Italy has got a lot resting on his shoulders. We've seen he had a bright moment 1 round ago, but looks as though that bright moment will not repeat this time as he went a bit too wide. It looks as though that's all she wrote for good this time around for Equinox. Sveta going very close to hitting the inside edge there. Very, very careful. We got to be there on the part of Sveta. Planetary Ghost also looking to be a bit more into race management mode, cruise control mode, I guess. Doesn't need to go for the full send through that entry into the final sector, and it will be an ace to kick things off and to conclude things in style. It will be an 11-4 scoreline, 56.414 for Planetary Goose and 0.854 for Sveta. Italy and Hygibis have to yield 11-4 on this map for Steak and Cheese, who take the overall series 3-0 and thus get their first ever win of the season.
Big time win. Again, they had 2 very tough matchups, right? So even though they were 0-2 coming into this one, not too shocking that they did come through in a dominant fashion. Also, throw it back a little bit. It was baked, not fried. They had the skins you really liked, right? I really like the Equinox skins.
Yeah, the Equinox skins looked really good. Yeah, I love the way that they lights up also on their braking. I really love the elimination on that one.
I thought that was. I want to say something nice about Equinox because I'm about to lay in a little bit. Look, that was a very rough series for them. The crash rate way too high, and I know they're excited to be here, but fortunately for them, I suppose they have like a week to lead up until that next weekend, and maybe some easier matches for them. But yeah, that was a rough stream debut for this event.
Yeah, it was a bit of fits and starts, you know, but we got there in the end. You know, we got some matches going, we got some racing, and yeah, it was very, very good to see. So yeah, that's pretty much it for day 1 in terms of what's covered here. I think we should take a look at the overall standings whilst we are at it, which will be updated, of course, over the course of the matches that are going to be going by over on Liquipedia, as well as eCircuitMania.com. Antic Esports having taken their 3rd win consecutively, so they stand atop of the standings. Keep in mind that we still are missing a couple of matches in there in Division 1, so standings are bound to evolve. Trident Esports currently sitting 2nd alongside Restless Black, and DXC Singapore currently sitting in P4 due to the map difference being slightly less in their favor. 2 Red Devils currently sitting in P5, P6 for Restless White, both with 1 team and 1 win and 1 loss. First win for Steak and Cheese move up to P7 in the standings, and of course Trident Storm, Baked Not Fried, and Team Equinox complete the top 10.
Yeah, it's a very interesting start. Again, top six teams do make it to the playoffs. So even the teams that have started 0-3 today, they are still very much in the running to kind of turn their season around and find pathways to get towards that top. I mean, no real surprises. Currently looking at Trident and Antic kind of in that 1-2 right now. Restless. Two teams representing Restless, both white and black. We haven't really got a chance to see them yet. I'll be excited to see what happens when we do get them more on stream because I'm really curious to see how competitive they are truly with the top of the table. Both of those sides off to a really good start.
Yeah, indeed. Restless Black is going to be one team to watch out for. Also, DXA Singapore. I'm actually kind of interested to see how deep of a playoff, deep of a group
Yeah.
stage run they're able to pull off as well. So yeah, those are the standings currently as they stand. It will be evolving, of course, over the course of the next couple minutes over as the match results will trickle in. But I think we should take a look at the overall schedule for this competition again, because there is still quite a lot to sink your teeth into. Remember, we are only on day one of the group stage, and as you can see here, there is plenty more stuff to do. Starting, of course, on March 23rd at 15 Singapore time, 7 a.m. UTC for those of you in the European climes, with rounds 4, 5, and 6. And then, of course, March 24th was round 7, 8, and 9 at the same times. And, of course, the playoffs on the weekend of March 30th and 31st to determine who will be the inaugural AOPL champion.
I love it. This was such a tease of a weekend, right? Like you only get one day this weekend. As opposed to two, the following ones. Again, too, like I'm a little bit sad I won't be able to watch it live and be here with you next weekend, but you are going to be under. I believe it is. Is it Critty? Is it Turbo? I believe it's Turbo coming in. If
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not
the
mistaken.
one and only
Mm,
Lucas Toby that's going to be alongside me. So I'm pumped. I
mm,
think that's the first time that we casted together, that we're casting together this year, if I'm not mistaken. I might
that's exciting.
memory's a little bit fleeting these days, but yeah, there's going to be quite a lot to get excited about, including the matches that we're going to be covering over on day 2. Starting off at 7 a.m. UTC, the first match we're going to cover for round 4 is going to be Restless White versus
Oh.
DXA Singapore. Okay, so we get a back-to-back Restless match. We got Restless White versus DXA Singapore at 7 a.m. UTC. Then after that, for round 5, we do get Restless Black this time versus Baked Not Fried. And we got an intra-team matchup to conclude the day at 8:30 UTC. Trident Storm versus Trident Esports, the main lineup versus a secondary lineup, going at it
Mm.
against each other.
I have to admit, out of those three, that first match is the one that I'm most keen on. DXA Singapore,
Yep.
I think they looked really good today, just based on the results we're seeing. Restless as an org, I think they're going to be spooky to watch out for. Black might be a little bit stronger, but White ain't no slouches either. That's going to be a fun one. So make sure you're here at the start next weekend, because out of those three, it's opening with the banger.
Yeah, it's gonna open with a banger, and I suspect that even with day 1, even with the fits and starts that we got some pretty good stuff to gloss over, the moments, the clips, and stuff like that. I think those are going to be shared over on all social media, and make sure to follow the social media actually from the Trackmania Asia Oceania community, both on Twitter, Twitter, YouTube, and also, of course, this Twitch channel right here, because this is where all the action will be live and where you will be able to witness everything in here. Again, also one last quick plug, I promise, to eCircuitMania.com, where you can actually do predictions and also see all the match results updated once, of course, everything has been processed, to actually get a proper idea of how the competition is going down, which is absolutely amazing to see this kind of stuff here on Trackmania.
Mm.
And I don't know about you, but I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up for day number 1, at least. Obviously, we're still going to have a lot more fun times around the corner. So I would also like to, again, shout out to, the fact that events like this are happening. Fantastic to see. Again, no world tour announced for this year. So it's up to events like this to kind of keep that competitive scene going. And I know here in OCE within this region, maybe we don't get as many exciting things as the Europeans or maybe the North Americans. But you know what? We're doing our best. So on that note, I'm glad to see you all here. I'm glad to see you all competing, and yeah, looking forward to see how this entire event plays out.
Yeah, I think we're both excited to see how this event plays out. And for me, especially, it's always a bit of a, it's always kind of good to see it's always kind of good to see actually regions like this, like OCE, like NCSA, and stuff like that, having their own little scene that's actually being propped up. And it's always a pleasure to kind of delve outside of the beaten path, I should say, with the various different scenes. I mean that, of course, in the nicest possible way. It's always kind of refreshing to see some new faces up in there and actually delivering some really solid racing.
Yeah, it is. It has been a lot of fun here. So I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm excited to see where Trackmania and OCE goes as well, because there are other events that, that I'm not sure I'm allowed to talk about on this
Mhm.
channel, but there's some other fun things coming up. So we'll see how that plays out either way. Remember, be your best self. I would say both on and off the track, no matter where you are. And we'll see you next weekend.
Godspeed, people.